It is also with the understanding that entrepreneurship could contribute towards youth affairs in the area of supporting the development of new enterprises, supporting enterprise growth for creation of new jobs, and enhancing youth employment prospects by developing their skills and experiences. But there seems to be a basic challenge considering, facing the option of entrepreneurship and the young one taking it up quickly as a means of a livelihood or job, access to job. Part of the challenges include the fact that they lack awareness of their entrepreneurship potentials. Secondly, the current educational and training programs being extended to them are not impactful enough to challenge them to take up entrepreneurial attitude and skills. Again, lack of prior experiences in starting business also hinder them from venturing into one, as well as lack of skill training that meet the need of the market. Some of the industries or people that engage them find it difficult to see these young graduates useful because they don't possess the skill that are required in the market. So these are some basic challenges that are facing entrepreneurship. But be that as it may, in trying to establish the link between the three subject matter, it is necessary that we understand that economic growth of any nation is driven by fundamental forces of knowledge generation through research, rate of innovation, and entrepreneurial activities alongside other variables. Now, for research, it creates knowledge, insight, and impart excitement to the growth of the educational process, leading to the discovery of new facts. Research can as well be a hub of new products, jobs, and industries only when there is sustainable funding and also when there is concerted effort to encourage the transformation of research results into new products, which fuels industrialization, job creation, and economic development. For innovation has to do with generating new ideas, whether new products or process, or even upgrading already existing one. And there are two major processes that give birth to innovation. One is called technology push, and the other one is called market pull. For technology push, it occurs when a discovery made during applied research is further developed to manufacture products for market consumption, which solves a problem in the society. That's how one area where innovation emerges, when there is a discovery during the process of applied research, and this discovery is further developed to become a manufactured product, and that manufactured product becomes a product for the market, which eventually helps in job creation. The alternative process for innovation generation is what we call the market pull. It occurs when a need arises in the market, which challenges research and development to be conducted, thus leading to the development of a new product that solves that need that was identified in the market. So you can see whether technology push or market pull, they are similar in job creation, only that they are different on what triggers them up. Innovation requires thinking, creativity, and the ability to identify opportunities for investment. Now, for entrepreneurship, it encompasses the willingness of an individual or group of individuals to take risk and capitalize on business opportunities in a dynamic market. A business entrepreneur possesses the ability to identify and transform innovations into viable business ventures by embracing risk. And in doing so, they add value and creativity to innovation with the pursuit. So to succeed as an entrepreneur, You must embody traits such as risk-taking, motivation, leadership, management skill, decision-making, and so on and so forth. Okay, I would want us to know that there is a synergy that exists between research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And I just mentioned a few, and then we begin to talk about how this can be facilitated. One, modern industrial advancements are anchored upon scientific and industrial research, leading to generation of new ideas or improvement of existing technologies. Now, these ideas often turn into industrial products for commercial exploitation, thus creating jobs. And this is what usually happens in many of the advanced countries. Research and innovation are essentially simulators of economic development as they produce new ideas and turn them into produce for the market, thereby creating wealth and job. Entrepreneurship is seen as a very fertile environment for innovation creation, and therefore acknowledging as a mechanism for economic growth. Now, for our country, Nigeria, there is this trend of economic growth. Whereas Nigeria's trend of economic growth do not strongly feature manufacturing and domestically developed industrial products coming from innovation. In the present, Nigeria is perceived to be predominantly consumer of already existing technologies, with little of it being very few scientific inventions. Thus, for the country to compete strongly in the present global economy, it must evidently develop capacity to modify these existing technologies while aiming to create her own. However, absence of domestic creation of new scientific knowledge and products is considered one of the key contributors to the current industrial underdevelopment in our country. So what then could be done to facilitate innovation, entrepreneurship for job creation before we begin to talk? One, that need to encourage research in all fields of science, engineering, and technology. Two, Nigeria needs to focus on nurturing collaborative research environment between universities, research centers, industry partners, so as to achieve profitable research outcomes that satisfy the needs of the society. Then, on the part of universities and research institutions, they need to play a prominent role to create an ecosystem for potential research, innovation, and enterprise activities for the purpose of systemic generation of new human-centered products that have both social and economic impact, including wealth and job creation. In several other fora, it has been recommended that there should be establishment of inter-university centers in specialized areas, innovation clusters, and incubators. There should also be provision of research grants, research fellowship, and research incentives. There should also be creation of research infrastructures, such as instrumentation, computational, and information services. And also there should be facilitation of collaboration and capacity building that will enhance the capacity of scientists, academics, and scholars in engaging in researches that will translate to innovation, that will produce products for the market. Thus, engendering effective university research centers, industry interface for translating research and innovation into business enterprises is needful for commercializing research outcomes into innovation, into innovative industrial products. There is also a crucial need for creation of environment for industry-oriented research development of innovation and intellectual property rights, as well as technology business incubators for fostering promotion of invention, facilitation of technologies transfer, and entrepreneurship. It is also needful to create a vibrant ecosystem in university and research center, which will deliver the state-of-art facilities and provide unlimited access to physical space, digital resources, mentoring, consultancy, and training services, and so on and so forth. These, when provided, will enable a more effective utilization of facilities to incubate novel ideas, novel business ideas from the young prospective entrepreneurs that are streaming into the universities, who should be encouraged to grow their ideas into knowledge and innovation-based enterprises. Finally, based on the foregoing, are we to posit that an ecosystem is highly needful to create necessary network linkages between the academia, the industry, research institution, the civil society, and even government. Such ecosystem will also ensure optimal use of human and infrastructural resources. A concerted and collective effort need to be made to access, share, coordinate, and develop cross-border resources, expertise, and knowledge pools among networking organizations to optimize the gain from strategic collaboration between research, innovation, and enterprises. Such efforts will create jobs in the economy and reduce the gap between technology development and technology deployment in Nigeria's economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure we can follow the trend. I'm sure most of us have, I hope we have put our questions and contributions down. No doubt, he has specifically mentioned that there should be collaboration in research and the need to commercialize our research efforts and output. No doubt, he also agreed that there's a need to get the food industry involved in some of our research. So to pave the way so that we can quickly get to our questions, contributions, and the other, it's my pleasure to call on Professor Joel Ndife, a fellow of the Institute, to also give us his insight into this topic. And as soon as he finishes, we'll then be able to ask questions and contributions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Basically, what we're here for is to see or to suggest ways we can translate our ideas, our innovation into job creation. And entrepreneurship basically is creating job or businesses. That is what entrepreneurship is all about. You know, it worries me when I see some of our graduates and I ask them, I say, what are you doing? In fact, the first one answered, I am selling wig. I say wig, he say yes. The second person, different occasions. You are a graduate now, what are you doing? Say, I'm selling clothes. I say fashion design, say yes. In fact, out of 10 persons I interviewed, what they were doing as graduates, self-employed, only 2% said they were doing something related to food processing. And I think that is not acceptable. I'm sure you agree with me, don't you? It's not acceptable. Even from what our keynote presenter said, that is Mr. P2B, if you consider what is essential, you know things are difficult and we are trying to say do away with things that are not essential. But you can't do away without food. You can't do away with food. You can't do away with food. You must eat. In fact, that's why I'm very, very proud and happy to be a food technologist, because I am at the center of something that is essential. And we are, all of us. what this discussion is all about is how to suggest ways of creating jobs in our sector, which is the food sector. In fact, I took time to look at some of the job creating means. We can talk about academics, but honestly, when you talk about academics, it's only when you are into research that will lead to job creation. Every other thing you do, the industrialist will just say it with a wave of hand. He says it's just mere academic exercise that you are doing, a mere academic exercise. How does that relate to us? So, but we in the academics, we are supposed to champion, even the research institute, we are supposed to champion ideas and innovations. Another thing we can do in creating jobs is look at the value chain. Look at the agricultural value chain. In fact, every time I travel from the north to the south, and I see the grain silos, the big silos they used to store grain, I wonder, I say, is it only grain that we will be preserving? What about fruits and vegetables? What about roots and tubers? You know, we don't have such investment in those sectors apart from grains. There are value chains. And let me tell you, what they are doing is that they are preserving those things. In fact, one of the ways of creating job or helping yourself is to store some of these grains against the off-season. In fact, I did that, and I made some good money. Even though my pastor was saying, Joel, come, he called me and said, are you sure you are not hoarding these grains? It seems you are hoarding. I said, no, I'm not hoarding, I'm preserving. And you people must pay for my preservation. He said, now tell me what is the difference between hoarding and preservation. I say, it's okay. Okay, see me privately, I will tell you the difference. But the point I'm trying to make is that we have to be innovative in creating jobs. In fact, part of what I believe we should be doing is what I call import substitution. What do I mean by that? You know the current exchange rates, 1,000 plus in the parallel markets. And if you are privileged, you might get the official exchange rate at 700 and something naira per dollar. If you are in the industry and you are to import those things, don't you think you will do well substituting those your ingredients or inputs with the local alternatives? In fact, that is the thing we are beginning to do. Somebody consulted me in the poultry industry and said, look, we used to import colorants for our egg yolk. Why can't we give him a local substitute? And you know what came to my mind is the issue of Zobo, because Zobo is very red. And what he wants is very close to Zobo. I say, okay, we will look at it. So we must be talking about import substitution on one hand. And on the other hand, we should also not forget the export aspect of it. I was keenly listening to Mr. P2B this morning, and he said he was mentioning Indonesia, Malaysia, Netherlands, and all that. And he was talking about the amount of money they earn exporting. Honestly, to be honest with you, I don't think there is any country that is as rich in resources like Nigeria. I did my research, there is no. Come think about whether it's agri, oil, gas, solid minerals, human resources. We are all there, but we are talking about agri here. We are talking about agri. If you ask me, our main, or what is it called, our comparative advantage is in agriculture. I was discussing with somebody, I said, oh, you want to go and compete with US or UK? All those people, they are already going to the moon. But even if you go to Japan, you know they don't have enough land. If you go to Germany, they don't have enough inland waters. but here we have everything. And so they come here. In fact, their interest is in our natural resources. And we shouldn't be exporting it to them raw. We should add value to these resources. Finally, I also think we should take a look at waste management. Waste management. In fact, I was privileged to work in the feed industry. The waste of the food industry is the ingredient of the feed industry. I knew those days when I was in the industry, flour mills were looking for place to dump their byproduct from maize milling or wheat processing. Eventually, they were giving it to us free. But as it is, as time went on, we had to be buying those things. In fact, currently, a kilo of the flour mill waste that we call wheat offer is going for about 10 naira per kilo, 10 naira per kg. So we need to know where, and we need to be innovative about it. If you go to the north, in fact, I once had a colleague, out of sheer thinking, he saw that pepper, during the harvest season of pepper, tomatoes, onions in the north, in fact, they will virtually be begging you to come and carry the tomatoes or the pepper. So what this guy did was to find a way of drying those pepper. And he did. In fact, believe you me, within 1 year, he bought a new car. In fact, we were about giving him query, where did you get money to buy a new car? It looks as if you put your hand inside the company's account. He said, no. Okay, you said we should do preservation now. That was how he dried pepper, stored it, and during the off-season, he sold the pepper and was able to buy a car to himself. So these are the things I want us to look into. I don't want us to be theoretical. I want us to look at the issue of production. Part of what I want us to look at is on the issue of electricity. On the issue, what do we do? In fact, I was advising somebody, I said, if your machinery, your plot and machinery is dealing with imported components, you better see how you can locally fabricate them. Otherwise, you won't be in business, or you won't even get the foreign exchange to import those things. So let me just stop here so that we can put our ideas together. Basically, what we are here for is to look for strategies of creating jobs. If you want to call it entrepreneurship, fine. It will help this our teaming youth, our graduate. You can see how empty the place is. If you call the student back now, they will overwhelm us. But these are youths that are looking for jobs. So, and I know that we will not be found wanting in the agri sector, especially in the food subsector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Please, let's give them another round of applause. Thank you very much. They've given us so much to chew. I want to advise that next time anybody talks about a mere academic exercise, let's educate that person, because if there's no academic exercise, there's no research, there's no result. So they should be patient with us. They have also told us about the need for collaborative research, which is actually what I said initially. Collaborative research, we should really tap onto this and find out what must we do to get the food industry to collaborate with the academic community of our institute. They've also spoken about value addition. They've spoken about import substitution. They've given us a lot that we can look at so that all of us collectively, we can, in the next 10, 15 minutes maximum, let us look at that topic again. Let us evaluate what they have told us, and let us see how we can contribute. We're talking about facilitating research to innovation, entrepreneurship, and job creation. And I still think we're talking about our academic community in the institute and our food industry in the nation. So we can ask our questions, we can do our contribution. The floor is open. The floor is open. If you have a question or if you want to contribute, please, let's see your hand up. I know one of our elders there, maybe even if it's only a minute, should share his experience with us with flour mills. It was mentioned during his when it was being given the recognition. I know Professor Awo had worked tirelessly with the flour industry to the extent that it has a professorial chair. This is collaboration. There was a lot of things that happened between the flour mills and UI, especially the food tech department. And actually, I think we should benefit from his wealth of experience here. MC, please, can you give Professor Howard the mic? Or you come and take mine. Please let us know if you have a question so that we can kind of time ourselves. Let's see your hand up if you have a question. Prof will give us, will help us, will contribute. Will help us to contribute to this topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Well, it's a very exciting topic, obviously, and one in which I think as a body of professionals, we really need to come up with innovative ways of, again, making sure that the big industries like flour mills that you mentioned can impact the society in some more fundamental ways, given the times in which we have found ourselves. Promotion of small and medium enterprises, micro, small, medium, is really key to the development of our nation. But unfortunately, they face a lot of challenges. We've been talking about encouraging the young ones to invest in value addition, get themselves involved in such things. But the sad thing is that with the state of the economy, it's really very, very difficult. Because where do you want to start from? The problem of power alone can be quite daunting. So I think we need to really begin to think outside the box as to what can be done. What has been pointed out, the opportunities are just there, numerous. We talked about somebody just drying pepper and making good money out of it. But the challenge is that initial investment to even start. We know that, and also raised the issue that government talks about silos for grains and the rest of such, but hardly mention about fruit, vegetables, roots, and tubers. And that's where we have the greatest in terms of losses, and where we have the greatest potentials for value addition. But we know that these techniques are not that easy to apply. And that's why I'm thinking that, yes, companies like flour mills, they are getting really into other areas. We say flour mills, but we know that flour mills is not just about milling wheat anymore. They are in virtually every aspect of the economy, you know, in terms of their investment. So what we really need, I would think, is a small feeder industry that could tap from their large network. So my take-home point is that we should not be discouraged as young Nifsters. We should take advantage of whatever opportunities that we have to start something. But again, having said that, I wish our past president Olawale were here, and we know the kind of investment that he has made, but we know the challenges that he's now facing. Okay? So these are the kind of things that actually discourage one. But the long and short of it is that we must be open to use whatever little that we can find, look for avenues where we think we can make some impact, and let's begin to watch that grow. So hopefully the government has declared a state of emergency on food security. Again, from what we heard them saying most of the time, again, it's all about production, cooperation with Ministry of Agric and Water Resources, irrigation, seeds, tractors, what have you. But the issue of value addition, again, we see missing. Although I must say that we have made some progress, because at least they have now recognized the fact that the ministry should not just be Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development or something, but now Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. So let's hope they begin now to ask that question. What actually is food security? And where does value addition come in? Where does processing come in? Where does small-scale industries come in? Thank you very much. I hope I provided some insight.
Thank you.
And I'm not defeated completely.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We still have time to take more contribution or questions. MC.
I'm already up. Standing is Arthur Onweluzo, the Nifst Onitsha Zone Central chapter. In line with what Professor Awo said, and in accordance with the topic on the floor, what I would say is this: if we check this country very well, the Nifst from foundation to today, it is an obvious fact that there is a very big gap between the classroom and the real life. The gap is like from here to Australia. And if you go to the various institutions that we have in this nation, around the 6 geopolitical zones, you will see tons and tons, packs of various viable projects written by students. And how do we bring these things to actual reality, to practicable reality? Thank God that we have had a lot of incubation centers, a lot of policies from the federal government. Most recently, they said that they are going to pay about 15 million people with 25,000 naira monthly for 3 months, mounting to 75,000 naira as palliative. So long as I'm concerned, in my own suggestion, that thing is just a wild goose chase. I will suggest, frankly, that since there is now, Nifst is now chartered, let Nifst as a body chartered liaise with the powers that be in the government in each of the 6 geopolitical zones we have. Let there be committees on food security. And what will be the terms of the operation? Each year, what will be the terms of operation? Each year, these various committees in the 6 geopolitical zones will have a task of going through various students' projects, whether it is doctorate, whether it is ND, whether it is HND, whether it is BSc or masters, and then devise a very fair way or very fair method in picking at least 2 projects that will be practicable. At least 2 projects. At least minimum of 2 projects. They could pick 6 from each of the political zones. And then this committee will now brainstorm using certain parameters. Number 1, the viability of the project in each geopolitical zone in terms of the technology, raw material availability, repairs, running costs, staffing, and then the human intellectual. By the time they finish analyzing 6 projects, it could be thinned down to about 2 in each political zones. Then these 2 projects will be forwarded to the federal government, since it is now Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And then the particular students that had that research work will be given an allowance, a monthly allowance, and freedom with a consortium of banks within the zone, backed up by the government, and then a cash flow is being drawn to know the return on investment. That is going to be the work of the committees that will be set up in those zones. It has been done before. There's somebody that did his project in China some time ago. I had the brochure and I read it. And then what the Chinese government did, this is a little digression, but it's an example. What the Chinese government did was that they called the young man, said, what would you need to start up this tomato paste? And after interviewing the young man, they went to the Ministry of Agriculture, set it up. The cash flow stated that the young man will be able to pay back the loan in 3 years. But in 1.5 years, he cleared everything, and then they withdrew. Today, that industry is employing not less than 300 persons in China. They are not only making tomato paste, but they are making tomato powder that can be reconstituted. So if this is replicated in this country with the charter, now by the time 2 students come out of the university afresh in each of the 6 political zones, start up that is two industries, no matter how small, no matter how big or whatever, in a year. And every year, in 2-3 years, multiply 2 industries in each political zone to 3 years. You know what we'll have in this country. Unemployment will automatically drop. And then food security will be well defined. Thank you very much. That's my contribution to it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's heartwarming. It's a way forward. We can all key into what he just gave us. I saw a hand up here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mr. Aino from Chapter Chairman, Lagos State. And I want to say that I'm very enthused with this particular topic, this conversation that we're having, because I believe that there cannot be a better time for us to discuss this very matter. Apart from now, it's a very urgent need. And I want to speak from somebody who has direct interface and insight with the industry. And the issue now is that I want to speak on the upstream sector, that is the raw material sector. What we realized or noticed a trend since last year is that since the war in Ukraine and all that, there has been disruption in the global supply chain. So what we notice is that a whole lot of SMEs especially are now looking for substitute raw materials, because these raw materials that most of them use are not able to source it again. So a lot of them are looking for substitute materials. But the problem is in looking for substitute materials, what they now try to substitute with, most times, most of the time, completely alter the the real category of the product. What I'm saying is if you change one particular ingredient, what you are substituting it with will now change the entire classification. So that was the problem we were having with a whole lot of them. But at a point, because in NAFDAC, that particular activity is called reformulation, where we are allowed to reformulate, but if you are reformulating, you cannot change the entire category. So that has been a problem. And because of that, a whole lot of companies had issues. Some had even had to go outside the market. And why I'm saying it, because it's going to be particularly worse now. With this foreign exchange thing, a whole lot of companies may not be able to source their raw materials. So they have to look inward, and when they look inward, it may affect the quality. So it comes for a point where the academia, especially maybe Nifst and all the other, now needs to start looking at what raw material substitutions can we produce in this country, so that even if we can't get those products imported, the substitute, the alternatives that we can develop here must be available. In Lagos chapter, we try to put some sort of palliative. You have what is called the thematic groups in Lagos chapter, and it's a categorization of all the food value chain in the industry, so that one industry can speak to each other. And we have questions. People asking, if I can't get this particular raw material, what alternative can I use? And we have provided answers to them, and some of them are doing well today. But if you don't critically provide alternatives by research and by Nifst and other organizations coming together to look inwards at what we have, a whole lot of companies will run out of business, and that will again contribute to unemployment and it will threaten job security. So it's a clarion call for all of us to really begin to look at how within we can source material, because sooner or later, you may not be able to really import raw materials from abroad, because if you import, you definitely will run out of business at that floating exchange rate.
Thank you very much. We are really, really running out of time at a period when the topic is becoming very interesting. I'll take only one more, and I'll give you 2 minutes, madam. Just 2 minutes. The next session is about to start, so we are really out of time.
Thank you. My own is a little bit different, because I've been working with agriculture for a long time. And from my experience, food science, we are not actually visible with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. And it's very, very important. We just have to become very proactive. Now, we are talking about research. We know there is no research without money. Now, in the universities now, we depend on TED fund that maybe can just take care of just a few. But there are a lot of money, finance out there that we can access. For example, there is something going on now with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security maybe in all university faculties of agric. There is what they call need assessment for support. They have earmarked some money to support agricultural enterprise. And when you look at it, I have a memo regarding that. But when you see that, it's just for production, root tubers and all that. Production alone, nothing for value addition. And this is where we need to come in heavily, so that we can show that we are interested. And if there is production, there is something that should follow after production. So there is a missing link. Actually, it's like we are just aloof. We need to marry agriculture and start producing and be fruitful and be visible. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. I think we will all agree with her. The topic, no doubt, I'm sure if you want to go on the rest of the day, we can keep going, because there's just enough to talk about. But in rounding up and in conclusion, we're talking about facilitating. Who can really facilitate research for us? Start with the government, and then go to the food industry, and then your consumer. Your consumer will tell you what you need to work on in research. If you don't get close to the food industry, you will never know their needs. For government, like Madam just said, if we don't get close to government, we do not know, we will never know what area are they concentrating on that they're ready to spend money on. We don't really need to beat these topics. We know this. We know it's time for Nifst to become part of the food industry. We know it's time for Nifst to start being heard by our government. We also know that it is time that processed food becomes critical to us in terms of how it is presented to the end user, to the consumer. What does the consumer want? And we also know that there's so much room and facility to do those little research in our universities. You have projects. You have all these students doing projects. How much are we marrying their projects to the needs of these three areas, no matter how small it is? We can and we should, because I know we can do it. I'll close with this example. Yam, potato, and the likes are hot cake for export. But they are perishable. And you are limited by what you can use to preserve. Because if you use the wrong thing, they will send it back to you. Meanwhile, our yams are going post-harvest losses. They are going to waste. What can we do? Ghana is exporting so much yam and she's making so much money. Why are we not? The answer is in our research labs. Let's get back. Let's get to work. And let's make sure that the food industry start recognizing Nifst as a partner. I am sure we'll get to where we want to get. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's clap for the chairman and the discussant. It's been a wonderful one. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you, Prof. And so, without delay, we move to the next section, the next plenary, which is powered by GAIN, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. And to share this section, we invite the Deputy Rector of Abia State Polytechnic, Dr. Chizoram Oguji. With a round of applause, let's welcome Dr. Chizoram Oguji. This section, as I said, is powered by GAIN, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. And the resource person that will pilot this discussion today is a senior associate in food fortification. Help me to invite Ms. Adetola Otunla. She is a senior associate in food fortification. Thank you. As we said, it's still a discussion section. When she presents, then she will take questions and contribution. You're welcome.
Amen. I welcome everybody to this session, powered by GAIN. We're going to be fast, direct to the point, and the topic says the National Food System Dashboard, a tool for advancing food systems transformation. Beside me is Olutayo. Adetola, you are going to present the discussion, and then we will all participate. We don't hope to spend more than 15 minutes in this session. So please take us to the throne of full system dashboard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. I'll quickly make my presentation, then we'll have the discussion. Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Adetola Otsola. I work with Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, and I'm the Senior Associate for Food Fortification. So today, I will be taking us along the ride on the National Food Systems Dashboard, which is a tool for advancing food systems transformation. Okay, so what is food systems? I know some people might be hearing this for the first time, and for some of us, it's something that we always hear about. But permit me to just say it one more time. Now, the food systems encompass a complex range of actors and processes that get food from field to market to people's table. Now, we'll see that there are a lot of actors that get food from the farm right there to the fork. Right from the inputs for farm, for planting, right there to the planting itself, and thinking about even the transportation, thinking about the processing, thinking about the storage itself, then the retailing before it actually gets to the table. It's a lot of actors. We can see that looking at the graph, it looks like a very complex system. That's because there are lots of things going on when it comes to the food systems. Next, please. So now, why food systems? Like, what's the importance of food systems itself? Quite a number, and I'm just going to highlight them quickly. You know, the food system determines the availability, accessibility, and affordability of foods. Without it, I mean, we won't have foods available. We won't talk about the affordability of food itself and even the accessibility. It also shapes nutrition and health outcomes. It is what you eat that affects your nutrition and your health itself. So without an improved food systems, our health outcomes and our nutrition outcomes will be affected. Now, the food systems happen to also be a major employer of labor. A lot of people, like the graph, the first slide I showed, showing us that complex circle of actors, different actors working along the food system. I think with that, we can actually just reflect and see that truly the food system employs a lot of labor. And there, I don't want us to just start thinking of the people on the farm, the small scale retailers. I'm talking about even the big time retailers. I'm talking about food producing organizations. Quite a lot of them, very big, right? They are all employers of the food systems. Now, it also influences domestic and international trade. We export, we import food products also. It also contributes considerably to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. We can see now there has been a shift, people talking more now about the food system, climate change, our activities are also, food production is affecting the climate and the likes. Now, there is also the widespread opportunity to reduce all forms of inequalities. Next, please. So, why do we need food system transformation in Nigeria? The very first thing is poverty. From this graph, which is by the National Bureau of Statistics, which is a data of 2019, shows that poverty is high with 40% of Nigerians living in households that spend less than 137 naira, 137,430 naira per person per year. Now, I want us to bring it home and just look at it. This is not about what a household is spending per person per year. So now we can actually see that truly this poverty is really, really serious. And by the time you look at the graph well, the 40% is for Nigeria. Now, the graph actually disaggregates it, and you can see that states like Taraba and Sokoto, they are high up there, which is around 80%. That's almost all of the population. Next, please. Sorry, I'm trying to be very fast. All right. So the other need is limited food supply. That's graph. WHO says that the recommendation for fruits intake, fruits and vegetables intake is 400 gram per person per day. Now, if we look at the graph, if we look at the graph, we would see the projection right from 2012 data to 2018 data, and we can see that Nigeria, we do not even produce up to 400 grams of fruits and vegetables. Now, if, let's say, peradventure, we are to even divide it per person equally for us, that means there is no way we can actually meet the WHO recommendation. So this is calling for food systems transformation. The next slide, please. Okay, so this next slide is also talking about unaffordable foods. And if you look at the ladder, this is the ladder talking about the different stages for diet. And the first stage is energy sufficient diet. That is a diet that just meets your energy needs, just for subsistence. And even at that level, which is the base of that pyramid, even at that level, we can see that 33% of Nigerians cannot afford this energy. 33% of Nigerians cannot afford this energy sufficient diet. By the time we move higher up the ladder, which is the nutrient adequate diet, and this one actually, it avoids deficiencies and excesses of essential nutrients. Even at this, we can see that 72% of Nigerians cannot afford this diet either. Now, when we talk about the healthy diet, which is the diet that meets the food group recommendations, with this, 94% of Nigerians cannot afford a healthy diet. Now, we can see that truly we need food systems transformation. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, so the next slide is talking about poor diet quality. We can see that there is poor diet quality in Nigeria. We can see the percentage of people, about 25%, that consumed all 5 recommended food groups in Nigeria. And on to the next. The next one is also talking about malnutrition in Nigeria. Now, the line on your right side shows the indices for West Africa and for the world. And the one on your left side shows the indices for Nigeria. So this shows that out of 268.4 million people that are food insecure in West Africa, Nigeria has 55% of the share. Now, out of the 20.5 million children under 5 in Africa that have chronic malnutrition, Nigeria has 59% of this share. Now, 8% of the global burden of chronic malnutrition in Nigeria happens to also be Nigeria. And Nigeria is actually second to India only in the world when it comes to chronic malnutrition in young children. The next one also talks about non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases is something that is becoming a challenge right now in Nigeria too. And we can see that in 2015, 23% of adult males and 25% of adult females had raised blood pressure in Nigeria. Okay, so now we're moving now to the priority food systems actions in Nigeria. Next slide, please. Yeah. The Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning worked to develop these priority food systems actions for Nigeria. And some of these actions talked about disseminating necessary knowledge. It talks about increased access to factors necessary for food production. Also, improve food aggregation, storage, processing, and market access to increase incomes and reduce poverty. It's also talked about improving food system related policies and standards. And I think this last part is of more interest to us because it talks about conducting research and make inventions that will increase the continuous availability and accessibility of nutritious foods. Now, we have talked about innovation today, and this is also saying that this is part of the priority food system actions for Nigeria. To the next slide, please. Okay, so why the need for food systems data? I'll start by quoting the words of the former UN Secretary General, Kofi Annan. He said, without good data, we're flying blind. If you can't see it, you can't solve it. So the problem of food systems in Nigeria needs data. That is just the summary of everything. We need quality data for us to know what to do. If you don't know where the problem is, how do you know what to tackle? If you don't know what to do, all you'll just be doing is just rolling out a lot of interventions, doing a lot of things without it actually achieving the purpose of which it's meant to achieve. That is the reason why by the time we look at some of the interventions that are being done presently in Nigeria, some are more or less like dead on arrival, some are like no future for them because people actually lack data, the appropriate data to do good quality data actually to conduct this by them. Yes. Okay, so let me just go. Yes, so I said creating nutrition sensitive food systems require data, that is evidence-based policy making. Then our policy makers, they need data to know what to do. Because you cannot just go to, you can go to a minister or you can go to a policymaker and tell the policymaker, we have problem in this land, though. There is no food. Okay, so what am I to do about it? You need to give the person evidence for the person to make good decision. Okay, so we said data that is adequate in scope, timely, and of good quality is a big challenge. We need data that is adequate in scope. We need adequate data, not just data for a particular local government, but a data that is adequate and a data that is timely, not we using the data of maybe 2003 to make decisions now in 2023. A lot of things have happened. I mean, this is post-COVID period. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about conflict and the aftermath of this. So we cannot use outdated data to make good decision presently now. And data needs also to be dynamic to capture changes in the food system and signal further actions needed. Now, to the food systems dashboard. Next slide, please. Okay. So there is a global food systems dashboard. The Global Food System Dashboard is a platform that brings together food systems data, and it's a dashboard that has information for over 200 countries on it, and it enables cross-country comparison, and it identifies food system challenge areas. Likewise, it provides recommendations for these challenges of the food system. Now, what is the goal of the food system dashboard? We have 3 goals, and I like to call them the 3 Ds of the food system dashboard. The first one is for you to describe. So it describes the food system of a particular country to improve stakeholder understanding of the national food system. It also diagnoses to enable stakeholders to determine contextual challenges in the food system. Now, you know these are the challenges in this food system. And the last D is to decide. It suggests priority actions, priority areas of actions and necessary things that the stakeholders need to do to improve the food system of that particular area. Now, I talked about the global food system. Now, we also have the Nigerian state-level food systems dashboard. Why do we even need a state-level food system dashboard? When we talk about the global food system dashboard, I said it has data for over 200 countries. But the data points on the global food system dashboard has data for a country. It's a national data. It's like the average data. So when the global food system tells you that 94% of Nigerians do not have access to healthy diet, now, we're all running with the 94%. Where are those 94% really concentrated to? It is not the same thing in every part of Nigeria. Nigeria is a dynamic nation. We have people with different cultures, different ways. Even looking at our rainfall, the system is different everywhere. Some parts of the country do more of production. Some parts of the country, they do more of consumption. So we really need to know how this data affects the different parts. And that is what brought about the Nigerian State Level Food System Dashboard. So the Nigerian State Level Food System Dashboard gives us data for the different states. Now, everything that I said the Global Food System Dashboard does, the same thing the Nigerian State Level Food System Dashboard does. The only difference is that it brings us down to the granular level of us knowing the data points per state. So now you can look at it and see what is the data for Abia State, what is the data for Sokoto State, what is the data for Taraba, not just what is the data for Nigeria. Okay, so now please. Okay, so and to get the data for this, we sourced for data from quite some sources, which include MBS. We use the Nigerian Living Standard Survey, the NDHS data, and the mixed data. That's the multiple indicator cluster survey data. To the next part, okay, tool for food system governance. Now, this dashboard is a tool for multi-sectoral coordination, vertical coordination, and accountability. Now, the dashboard makes us know which sector, which parts of the food system is having issues. So we're saying that if the government had actually put a lot of money into inputs, farm inputs, making sure that we have enough production to meet the level of malnutrition in Nigeria. And yet, we are looking at the health outcome. We're seeing that the indices are not changing, or probably they are getting worse. Now, with data, we can actually trace it back and look at it that where is the problem coming from? If farming is not the problem, could it be at the point of movement to the off-takers? Or could it be because of lack of storage? We have to trace it where the problem is. And this is part of what the food systems dashboard will give to us. And it also creates the accountability. It makes us to say, okay, so with everything that has been done, with all of the investments presently, we can say that, okay, seems like it is this aspect of the food system that is having issues, and we'll call on that ministry, we'll call on the stakeholders within that aspect, and we'll work together on finding a lasting solution to the food systems. And the expected dashboard users, can I have the slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so I've talked about some of them, which is the governments. They are also the policy makers that need this data for them to know what to do. The development partners and civil society. How do you do your interventions? How do you do your advocacy if you don't have data? It has to be evidence-based. And then the private sectors. The private sector needs to know where they need to come in to bridge the gap between demand and supply. And the academia. Yes, the academia, we need data. We need data for our research. We need data for, for our research for the studies that we do. Okay, and we have the acknowledgements. We worked with quite a number of organizations and ministries. We worked with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, MBS for data, the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, of course, the USAID Advancing Nutrition, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation provided fundings. We had the private sector side.